two persons, namely Samir and Mono, and their preliminary search was carried out. On search of black color bag of Samir, the police recovered 250 notes of high quality fake Indian currency notes having in denomination of rupees 1000, 2000, having total face value of rupees 5 lakhs. Your Lordship, similarly, on search of maroon color bag of accused Monu, the police recovered similarly 250 fake currency notes of in denomination of rupees 2000 of total face value of rupees 5 lakhs. Your Lordship, accordingly, police prepared their search memo in the presence of independent witnesses, and photographs were also taken of these fake currency notes. Your Lordship, on further examination, it was revealed by the accused person that they were coming from Malda town railway station, West Bengal, and further on interrogation and on preliminary questioning, both the accused disclosed before Special Cell Delhi Police that they had collected the aforesaid fake Indian currency notes from their associate Kalu Mama, that is accused number 3, who was resident of Kalyachak, Malda, West Bengal. They revealed that this consignment of fake Indian currency notes was to be delivered at Pulwama, Jammu and Kashmir to Peter, that is accused number 4. They further informed that aforesaid fake Indian currency notes were to be utilized for bomb blast on Indian Army convoy on 15 August 2015. Accordingly, Samir, accused number 1, and Monu, accused number 2, were arrested by Special Cell Delhi Police. Your Lordship, thereafter, the seized currency notes were sent by the investigating officer, that was Inspector Akash Singh, to the CFSL CBI New Delhi for their expert opinion. Then CFSL CBI New Delhi forwarded their preliminary report where they opined that these seized currency notes were high quality fake Indian currency notes. Your Lordship, during its examination by Special Cell Delhi Police, Samir disclosed several names of his associates in this organized supply and purchase of fake Indian currency notes, namely Kalu Mama, Peter, and Sohail, accused number 5. And Samir stated that he used to receive 10% commission on each deal. Your Lordship, further Samir, accused number 1, disclosed that he and Monu, accused number 2, used to receive consignments of these fake Indian currency notes from Kalyachak, Malda, West Bengal, and travel in general coach of trains as it was convenient and safe for them. Your Lordship, further Samir and Monu disclosed that Kalu instructed them to travel. This time Kalu instructed them to travel to Pulwama, Jammu and Kashmir, and to deliver these fake Indian currency notes to Peter, that is accused number 4, and their Monu, accused number 2, revealed that Kalu Mama, taking instruction from Sohail, accused number 5, who was doing the main planning. Your Lordship, Special Cell Delhi Police staff searched house and premises of Peter, that was accused number 4, on 27th February 2015 and 28th February 2015 at his residence situated at Barod district at Malwa, Madhya Pradesh. But Peter was found absconding. Thereafter, Special Cell Delhi Police asked about him, but he could not be searched. Your Lordship, during the course of investigation, it was established that the said accused person had been actively dealing with these fake currency notes and assisting militant groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and on the statement of witnesses and other evidences, the Special Cell Delhi Police established a prima facie case against the accused persons under Section 16, 17, 18 and 20 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. Your Lordship, Police Authority during investigation of aforesaid FIR under Section 120B, 489B and 489C of IPC has came to the conclusion that this case needs to be investigated by the NIA under Section 6 of NIA Act 2008. Then after perusing the relevant report, the central government transferred this case, that is FIR number 15/2015, registered on 25th Feb 2015 by the Special Cell Delhi Police to NIA, via their order dated 30/4/2015 of Ministry of Home Affairs, which is exhibit number 5 at page number 46 of the charge sheet. Your Lordship, in compliance with aforesaid order dated 30th April 2015, the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, New Delhi, the investigation of the case taken over by NIA on 11th May 2015. Your Lordship, under section 11th May 2015, under section 489B, 489C, 120B, 121, 123 and 201 of IPC, and under sections which were aforesaid under the Unlawful Activities Act. Your Lordship, then Samir and Monu, during investigation before the NIA team, when they obtained their police custody from this honorable court, during investigation, Samir admitted his involvement in the case and disclosed involvement of other aforesaid accused, that is Peter, Kalu and Sohail, during the investigation. Your Lordship, Samir and Kalu informed the NIA team that Kalu Mama used to take instructions from Sohail, accused number 5, who was planning to carry out the bomb blast in Pulwama on Indian Army convoy on 15 August 2015. He further informed that Sohail, accused number 5, was also in touch with Lashkar-e-Taiba senior people from Pakistan. Your Lordship, Monu also admitted his involvement in the case and disclosed involvement of other accused persons, namely Kalu and Peter and Sohail. And Your Lordship, Monu further informed that Kalu Mama has received instruction from Pakistan and Bangladesh with the blast code दुल्हन को सजाने का वक्त आ गया है. Blast as soon as fake Indian currency notes reached Pulwama to Peter, accused number 4. Your Lordship, all details of SIM cards used by accused persons were obtained from the during investigation from mobile service providers, and contents of mobile phones containing contact list of phones recovered from the accused were obtained from expert opinion of CERT IN New Delhi. These were analyzed. The field team was deputed in Madhya Pradesh and West Bengal for verification of these mobile phones and for identification of Kalu, accused number 3. Then it was concluded that Samir was in constant touch with Monu, Kalu and Peter. Your Lordship, and they found that Monu, accused number 2, was in constant touch with Samir, Kalu and Peter, that was accused number 4. And they found that Kalu Mama, whose location of mobile phone was West Bengal, very close to Bangladesh border, was in constant touch with Samir, Monu, Peter. He was also in touch with another mobile number, which was later on identified of number of Sohail, accused number 5. A team of NIA investigators was sent to search the house and premises of Peter A4 on 27th May 2015. But Peter, accused number 4, was found absconding. During investigation, the NIA team came to know that he has escaped from there, and then they came to know that he is admitted in the SK hospital at Rajasthan. Then immediately the NIA team reached at SK hospital Rajasthan, where they came to know that he is expired on 22nd June 2015 due to poisoning. Your Lordship, the doctors of that hospital informed him the cause of his death was suicide. Your Lordship, thereafter, they started search of soil accused number 5. Then they came to know that he has fled to the Bangladesh. Your Lordship, they are hardcore criminals. Therefore, Your Lordship, Section 489B, they are liable to be punished under Section 489B and 489C of the IPC and all other relevant added provisions of the Criminal Law and Unlawful Activities Act in this case. Your Lordship, with your kind permission, now may I call upon my co-speaker to deal with the rest of the issues.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Lordship.
Good morning, Your Lordship. I am counsel for public prosecution appearing on behalf of the prosecution. Your Lordship, with your kind permission, may I move on my contention, please?
Please go ahead.
Much obliged. With your kind permission, may I move on issue number 8 on behalf of the prosecution?
Yes, please.
Samir A1, Monu A2 and Kalu Mama are liable for commission of offences under Section 121, 123 and 201 of IPC. It is humbly contended that Kalu alias Mama A3 had destroyed all the evidence in this case. The accused person Samir A1, Monu A2 and Kalu alias Mama A3 joined local military group against the government of India, and the accused person by their acts concealed the existence of design the wage war against the government of India, intending by such concealment to facilitate or knowing it to be likely that such concealment will facilitate the waging of such war. Samir A1, Monu A2 and Kalu alias Mama A3 are liable for commission of offences under 121, 123 and 201 of IPC. In the case of Malaya versus Emperor 1924, the Madras High Court held that since the waging war is a continuous offence under Section 121 of IPC, the attempt to wage war is the stage when the person attempting has done all that he could do, or at least has taken all the more important steps that he could take towards waging war, but the main crime of waging war does not result. Abatement of waging war can be done by any of the 3 ways giving under Section 107 of IPC, that is to say by instigation, by conspiracy or by international aiding. Your Lordship, I would like to, with your kind permission, now I call upon my co-speaker 1 to deal with the rest of other issues.
Your Lordship, my 10 minutes are left. Now I would like to move on further issues.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, in this case, the accused came under the jurisdiction, filed their written defense to the Sessions Court of Delhi. Your Lordship, they came under wrong jurisdiction because the Section 13 of the NIA Act says that when the offences are scheduled offences declared under the schedule of the NIA Act 2018, then only the NIA Special Court has jurisdiction to try this case. They are wrong on their part.
They came on wrong place because your lordship, Honorable Session Court of Delhi has no jurisdiction to try the case, but they have invoked the jurisdiction of Honorable Session Court of Delhi. Kindly see their page number 8. May I proceed, your lordship?
Yes, please proceed.
Much obliged, your lordship. Your lordship, they are also liable to be punished under the section 16, 17, 18 and 20 of Unlawful Activities Act 1967, because section 15 of the Unlawful Activities Act 1967 defines terrorist acts. Your lordship, in this case, the Commissioner of Police Delhi gave gave sanction for the prosecution of accused under the provision of clause 3 of section 15 of the Unlawful Activities Act, and in which they were found that they have damaged the monetary stability of India by using by communicating and circulating these fake Indian currency notes. Your lordship, and they are also liable to be punished under section 17, 18 and 20 of Unlawful Acts, because they were associated with the militant groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and their regional groups located at West Bengal, who Lashkar-e-Taiba was aiding those militant groups. And furthermore, your lordship, the Sohail, who is accused number 5, who is fled to the Bangladesh, he is the main instructor who give them instruction, and the Peter who died, we can't do anything against himself, but the main who mastermind behind this case is Sohail and the Lashkar-e-Taiba, whose senior peoples are located at Pakistan and Bangladesh. Your lordship, my request to you to is, they are hardcore criminals. They are dealing with fake Indian currency notes to damage the economic stability of India, and they are indulged in all this terrorist activity to damage the to wage war against the government of India. Therefore, they are also liable under section 121 and 123 of the IPC. Your lordship, with your kind permission, may I call my co-speaker to speak for the prayer in this case.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, your lordship.
Your Lordship, with your kind permission, may I move on the prayer on behalf of the prosecution?
Yes, please.
Much obliged. Wherefore, in the light of the issue raised, arguments advanced, and authority cited, it is most humbly prayed by the prosecution before this honorable court to please adjudge and hold it. The accused person, Samir A1, Monu A2, and Kalu A. Mama A3 may please be held liable for commission of offences under Section 120B, 489B, 489C, Section 121, 123 and Section 201 of Indian Penal Code 1860, and under Section 16, 17, 18 and 20 of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 as amended by Act 35 of 2008, and or pass any other order it may deem fit in the interest of justice, equity and good conscience, all of which is most humbly and respectfully submitted. Thank you, your lordship.
If my brother judge agrees to it, We would request the defense to proceed, and then we would be putting questions. Is that
Yes, that will be better.
okay? Yes, Mr. Courtmaster, you can tell the defense to proceed because the prosecution has concluded before the time allocated to them.
The defense, the honorable judges have permitted you to begin. Please.
Much obliged. May it please the court, this is counsel number 1 representing the side of defense in the case of State versus Samir and others. The counsel seeks permission to collectively address the bench as Your Honor. Am I permitted?
Please.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Honor. Your Honor, if with your prior permission, I would like to address some contentions on behalf of the defense.
Yes, please.
Your Honor, the first condition on behalf of defense is that there exists no conspiracy between the accused to execute the bomb blast. Secondly, the accused did not disappear any evidence or falsified facts to screen the offender. Thirdly, the accused are innocent people and who were not in possession of any fake Indian currency notes. Fourthly, the connection of the accused with the local militant groups has not been substantiated by the prosecution with the help of any evidence. And lastly, the accused had no intention to wage war against the state of India. Your Honor, declaring someone as a terrorist is, in other words, declaring someone as dead. It is the civil death of a person. It ends all the opportunities and possibilities for someone who has been wrongfully accused of committing such an act. Your Honor, even if the accused are not convicted, it leaves an indelible mark on that person's existence. Your Honor, the prosecution has a duty to prove conviction of the accused beyond all reasonable doubts. Although, Your Honor, the prosecution has not substantiated any contention against the accused persons, and hence the defense is here to address those irregularities. Your Honor, the first counsel would be dealing with the first issue pertaining to the liability of the accused under sections 120B, 121, 123, and 201 of IPC. And my learned co-counsel would be dealing with the liability of accused under sections 489B, 489C of IPC, and sections 16, 17, 18, and 20 of the UAPM. With the prior permission of the court, Your Honor, I would like to begin with the issue pertaining to criminal conspiracy. Your Honor, to begin with, it could be said that to establish a liability for the offense of criminal conspiracy, certain essentials must be taken into consideration as per its definition, which is laid down under section 120A of IPC. Firstly, Your Honor, there must be an agreement between the conspirators and meeting of mind for committing such an illegal act. Your Honor, this agreement could be proved through the help of circumstantial evidence and establishing links between the conspirators. But it is humbly submitted, Your Honor, that the prosecution has failed to prove any link between the parties that led to this conspiracy. There is no authentication for the evidence submitted. Your Honor, there are many aspects that raise serious doubts about the connection between the accused. Firstly, Your Honor, it is imperative to mention that the accused Samir and Monu used to live in the New district of Haryana, and accused Kalu Mama used to live in Kaliachak Malda of West Bengal. Your Honor, there is a major catch here. The distance between both the places is greater than 1400 kilometers. And Your Honor, NIA could not locate any place where the alleged conspirators used to meet. Hence, Your Honor, the only medium left for the communication between the accused is through telephonic conversations. Your Honor, however, it is mandatory to produce a requisite electronic certificate as per the provisions under section 65B, subsection 4 of the Indian Evidence Act 1872 to authenticate the call detail record submitted by the prosecution. Your Honor, in the case of Arjun Panditrao Khodkar versus Kailash Kushanrao Gorantyal, the bench may peruse to para number 6 to 11 of the memorial. The Honorable Supreme Court had opined that it is mandatory to produce this electronic certificate in the cases where producing the original database or computer system becomes impossible. Your Honor, in this case, the call detail records retrieved from the different internet service providers would be deemed as secondary under section 63 of the Indian Evidence Act, as they were analyzed to submit only particular details and call records between the accused. Your Honor, but the prosecution must have a requisite certificate in the absence of the same raises serious doubts on the believability of call records. The prosecution is wholly relying on the call records for proving this conspiracy, which can be falsified because there is an absence of the requisite electronic certificate. Secondly, Your Honor, the prosecution has said that the accused Kalu Mama was taking direct instructions from accused Sohail. Your Honor, the prosecution witness Iqbal Khan in Exhibit 6 of the fact sheet, kindly peruse to that, has himself stated that Kalu Mama and Sohail were not having cordial relationships. Your Honor, then how could there be a meeting of mind between them if they were not having good relationships and cannot bear the sight of each other? Thirdly, Your Honor, it has been said in the case of State of Tamil Nadu versus Nalini, the bench may peruse to para number 14 of the memorial, in which the court has said that mere association with one of the principal offenders or even knowledge about the conspiracy cannot make a person conspirator. It is the agreement between the parties which is the sine qua non of the offense of conspiracy. And as I've said before, the agreement has not been fully proved by the side of the prosecution. Your Honor, indeed, the accused were working together, but Your Honor, they were working for a cause which ensured informed citizenry. Your Honor, just on the basis that they used to work together, it should not be deciphered that the accused were involved in a conspiracy to execute the bomb blast. Your Honor, it was also held in the case of Kirtipal versus State of West Bengal that the telephonic calls may raise suspicion against the accused, but mere suspicion itself cannot take the place of proof. Your Honor, the accused persons are part of an initiative that speaks against the policies of government. Hence, it is apparent that they must communicate through telephonic conversations regarding their initiative and its development. Your Honor, the same thing has been contended by the prosecution in another way. This could be used to divert the court's mind to look into the fact differently. Your Honor, mere suspicion could not hold them accountable for this alleged conspiracy. Your Honor, at last, the counsel humbly submits that the evidence submitted by the prosecution is not wholly enough to validate the links between the accused. Moreover, there is no authentication as per the law. Hence, Your Honor, the accused must be acquitted of charges under Section 120B of IPC, read with Sections 121, 123, 201, 49B and 49C of IPC. With the prior permission of the court, Your Honor, further coming to the issue of Sections 121 and 123 of IPC, the counsel humbly contends that the accused are not triable before this learned court under Sections 121 and 123 of IPC, as the condition precedent laid down under Section 196 of IPC has not been fulfilled in the case, Your Honor. It is explicitly said that no court shall take cognizance of offences mentioned under Chapter 6 of IPC. Your Honor, that also includes the Sections 121 and 123. Your Honor, the Law Commission in its 41st report has also stated that the objective of Section 196 is that it exists to prevent unauthorized persons from intruding in the matters of state. Your Honor, may perusal to para number 22 of the memorial. Additionally, Your Honor, it has been quoted at numerous occasions by the Supreme Court that these sanctions are condition precedent if cognizance is to be taken for any offense under Chapter 6 of CRPC. Your Honor, the defense has relied on the case of CBI versus M. Shivamani for the same. Kindly peruse to citation number 17 of the memorial, Your Honor. Additionally, Your Honor, in both the letters of sanction under Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 5, the name of the accused Kalu, who is accused number 3, has not been mentioned anywhere in the sanction letter. Thus, Your Honor, it can be inferred that the state does not want to prosecute accused number 3 Kalu under the said sections. Furthermore, Your Honor, if we examine the letter of sanction under Exhibit 5 of the fact sheet, it does not include the offense of waging war against the state. Kindly peruse to that, Your Honor. Your Honor, thus it can be inferred from the step of the government that they do not want to prosecute the accused for the offenses of waging war against the state and for concealing with intent to facilitate design to wage war. That is Section 121 and 123 of IPC. With the prior permission of the court, Your Honor, further leading to the arguments of against Section 201 of IPC, it is humbly submitted that the accused are not liable for causing disappearance of potential evidence or for giving false information to screen the other conspirators. Firstly, Your Honor, it has not been extensively proved by the prosecution that the accused were involved in the conspiracy in the first place. Your Honor, the defense has tried to raise certain doubts in front of the court for disproving the conspiracy earlier. Secondly, Your Honor, the prosecution has not proved any evidence with respect to the liability of accused under Section 201. There is no proof with respect to destruction of evidence by the accused. And how could we only rely on the statements made in front of the police by the accused? Your Honor, in the case of Padmini Mahendrabhai Gadda versus State of Gujarat, the bench may peruse to para number 30 of the memorial. The Supreme Court had opined that while considering charge under Section 201 of IPC, it is mandatory for the prosecution to prove that the accused actively participated in the matter of disappearance of evidence, Your Honor, which has not been proved with the help of any substantial evidence by the prosecution in this case. Your Honor, the police or NIA did not encounter any instance where the accused have not cooperated with them or tried to impede the investigation in any way possible. Hence, Your Honor, the counsel humbly submits that the accused are not liable for causing disappearance of potential evidence. Therefore, Your Honor, they must be acquitted for the same under Section 201 of IPC. Additionally, Your Honor, there are certain irregularities in the story of prosecution that the defense wishes to address. Firstly, Your Honor, it is important to note that according to the charge sheet of the case, Delhi police was informed about two suspects for the transmission of fake Indian currencies for some criminal activity in the country by an informant, Guddu Singh. Although, Your Honor, the Special Cell of Delhi Police in the FIR under Exhibit 1 charged only two apprehended accused. Charged not only two apprehended accused but five accused. There is mention of five accused in the FIR mentioned in the FIR, the first information report filed by the Special Cell of Delhi Police. How could the Special Cell of Police could even know that there are more accused involved without any interrogation? How could they possibly know what could be the charges framed in this particular case when the arrest was made of only two accused, that is accused number 1 Samir and accused number 2 Monu? Furthermore, Your Honor, secondly, the description of apprehended persons in the FIR is different from the description of persons in the charge sheet, which raises serious doubts with respect to the apprehension of innocent people, Your Honor. Moreover, FIR is an important document which initiates the criminal machinery, Your Honor. And against any particular accused, if an FIR has to be filed, Your Honor, the wrong description of the accused in the document shatters the basis of it, shatters the initiation of a criminal machinery, Your Honor. Thirdly, it is contended that the prosecution does not have any different evidence, any direct evidence whatsoever to prove that Kalu Mama is somehow involved in the commission of said offences, Your Honor. The prosecution has wholly relied on the statement given by the accused in the custody of police. Your Honor, the counsel believes that it is the point where the prosecution must know that it is a settled law. Your Honor, the Honorable Supreme Court has also stated in numerous cases that statement recorded by the police under Section 161 of CRPC are not evidence for the prosecution, Your Honor. The prosecution case is relying on the statement made by the accused under Section 161 when it cannot be entertained against the accused themselves. Instead, the statement should have been recorded as per Section 313 of the CRPC, Your Honor. Lastly, if the accused are convicted on the basis of incomplete evidence and so many irregularities in the investigation, Your Honor, it would vitiate the purpose of justice for them. Your Honor, there is a possibility that these are innocent people and police apprehended the wrong person in the first place. Your Honor, it would not be a conjecture to say that police deliberately framed the accused and ran a premeditated investigation since its inception. My co-counsel would be dealing with the possibility of the same, Your Honor. Your Honor, furthermore, the counsel humbly requests the court that it must adopt a cautious approach and should record the conviction of the accused only if all the links and the chains between the accused are completely pointing towards the guilt of the accused, which has not been thoroughly proved by the prosecution side, Your Honor. The accused have been under judicial custody for the past 6 years on the basis of mere speculations that they were part of a conspiracy to execute a bomb blast. Your Honor, declaring the accused as terrorist would be equivalent to putting a full stop at the end of their sensitization program. They would not be able to work in favor of the minorities and in the favor of people who had been victims of the governmental malpractices. Your Honor, with this, the first counsel rests his case here. It has been an absolute pleasure and honor to argue in front of this court. Furthermore, Your Honor, my co-counsel would be dealing with the second and third issue. Much obliged.
Your Honor, in furtherance of my co-counsel, he establishes that the investigation since its inception is premeditated toward the accused, for which he gave many reasons. Like in FIR, in FIR, five name of the accused has been mentioned. Your Lordship, I will be dealing with the issue of issue 2, that is whether accused are liable under Section 489B and C of IPC. For that, Your Lordship, 3 ingredients must be fulfilled. First is that selling, buying, receiving of fake notes. Second is that the accused shall be found in possession of the fake notes. And the third is that they have some knowledge or intention to use the fake Indian currency as genuine currency. Your Lordship, all the 3 ingredients has not been fulfilled in the case, which I'll be pressing on it. Your Lordship, with respect to first issue, that is selling, buying, receiving of fake Indian currency note, I'll be dealing at the later part when I will deal with the issue of Kalu Mama. Now the second part is that whether the accused are in possession of fake Indian currency note. Your Lordship, as my co-counsel has pointed that this investigation is premeditated towards the accused since its inception, I would like to further press on it and point it out as to why we are saying that. The first point is that, Your Lordship, when police get the information about the accused A1 and about accused, they reached to railway station at around 10:55 a.m. in the morning. And it is clear from the charge sheet that they arrested the accused at around 11:20 p.m. in the evening. That is after 12 hours of the of a procedural inquiry and anything what the police did. However, they didn't explain any of such thing, that why it took so much of time to confiscate the FIC note and to arrest those accused, since they have information pre-handedly, and even after that also it took 12 hours for the Your Lordship. It is whenever a seizure took place, it took place according to the procedure laid down under section 100 of CRPC. Lordship, it stated the need of the independent witness during the seizure and during the arrest. In present case, Your Lordship, the seizure took place at the railway station at Old Delhi. It is a public place. It's a crowded place. However, only one independent witness has signed on the seizure memo of the accused Samir and Monu, and one head constable has signed seizure memo. How come it is possible that there is no independent witness found by the police in a crowded place like railway station? It is further clear by the by honorable courts that independent witness, though any witness should not be forced to sign the paper. However, it is clear from the charge sheet that police had tried their best to adduce the witness to sign the seizure memo to certify that this seizure is perfectly fine. However, it is not clear from the charge sheet that they had done that also. For the Your Lordship, if we see the seizure memo of the accused Samir and Monu, it is written that the FIR number is 15/2015. But Your Lordship, if we peruse to charge sheet, the same can be inferred from the paragraph 13 and paragraph 36 and 35 of the moot court of the written submission filed by accused. Your Lordship, they have stated that the FIR number is 15/2015. However, they stated in the charge sheet that once they arrested the accused, after that they have filed the FIR. And during the time of seizure, they do not have any FIR number. So how come they file the FIR number 15/2015 in the seizure memo? For the Your Lordship, if accused to have a possession of fake Indian currency note, if they do have any intention or to use the fake Indian currency, a genuine currency, then they could have easily run from the railway station, since it is a public place, and the information which police get, they do not have any description of any of the accused. However, they didn't run away from there. They remained there. They cooperated with the police, and after that, and this shows that they do not have any ill will, any malice will. For the Your Lordship, it is the 2000 for the police. The police did not follow the rules laid down under 2013 rules of investigation of fake Indian currency note. I'll be coming on this issue when I will deal with issue number 3. Lordship, it is written in the Rule 6 of 2013 rule that police must send the note for any lab report in as early as possible, not after 48 hours. In the present case, Your Lordship, police didn't mention any time as to when they send this note to CFSL for the lab report, and it is written on the Rule 6 sub Rule 2 that when within 15 days CFSL must submit its preliminary report. However, in the present case, the CFSL submitted its preliminary report on 16th April. That is around 45 to 48 days later, which clearly violates the Rule 6 of the 2013 rule. Further, Your Lordship, as my co-counsel stated that at the start of investigation, police do not know anything about the other accused. After that, also they have named them in the FIR. Further, Your Lordship, if we see the statement of Akash Singh, prosecution witness third, in his statement, he stated that Your Lordship, please peruse to Exhibit 6, page number 48, the statement of Akash Singh. He nowhere stated that they found the fake Indian currency note in secret cavity. However, if we see the charge sheet, they clearly stated they found the note in secret cavity. Since this is a very important information which Akash Singh didn't tell in his statement of 161. Further, Your Lordship, the same statement which is given by PW4, prosecuting witness 4, Rupender Singh, he also didn't mention anything about secret cavity. where the money has been found. This creates serious doubt on the investigation of police, Your Lordship. Further, Your Lordship, they have stated that Guddu Singh accompanied them in the during the seizure and the arrest of the accused. However, if we see the statement of Guddu Singh, prosecution witness 1, he also didn't say anything about that he accompanied them in the seizure or not. He simply stated that he provided information to the police, and on the basis of that, police arrest the accused. Further, Your Lordship, if we come to the issue 2.2, that is what is the nature of FICL. Your Lordship, if we see the kindly peruse to the arrest and seizure memo of both the accused Samir and Monu. Your Lordship, at the seizure memo, annexure B, page number 29, they stated that they also found some cash and a general railway travel ticket number 123234. However, Your Lordship, in any paragraph in charge sheet, they didn't mention about some cash. What is the amount of some cash? Whether they sent some cash for any lab report, or how come do they know that this some cash is a genuine currency, and what they confiscated is a fake currency, Your Lordship? It requires certain miraculous superstition, which fortunately or unfortunately didn't accept didn't accept by the court. Your Lordship, if we further peruse to the charge sheet, or if we further peruse to CFSL report, which has been filed by the 3 report has been filed by CFSL. First is preliminary report, and the second one, then third one, which stated that this currency is a high quality fake currency. Your Lordship, it has been stated in 2013 rules and UAPI Act as to what is the standard to test the fake hidden currency note, and they have stated that they must have to file a conclusive report, a conclusive reason as to why they are reaching on any conclusion whether this is fake or not. Your Lordship, kindly peruse to paragraph number 46, 45 and 46 of page number 14 of written submission. They didn't provide any of the reason for reaching the conclusion as to why this currency is a fake hidden currency. Your Lordship, this creates suspicion on the lab report, on the investigation of the police, on the investigation of the NIA. This led to my third sub issue, Your Lordship, whether the accused Kalu Mama are liable under section 489B and C, Your Lordship. Lordship, as my co-counsel has stated, that the prosecution has wholly relied on the statement of the accused, which has been given to police during the custody of the accused, which can be very well inferred that they may have given the statement under duress, since I have established that this is a fake case, the fake hidden currency are implanted by the police to frame the accused under the heinous section, which clearly penalize the accused for a very long sentence. However, Your Lordship, the prosecution do not have any evidence against the accused Kalu Mama. They stated that he buy the fake hidden currency note from the accused Sohail. However, they didn't provide any of the evidence to substantiate the same. They said that they have the accused Kalu Mama buy currency of rupees 10 lakh of fake hidden currency by giving 3.5 lakh. However, they stated in the seizure memo of the accused Kalu that they have find certain bank statement of Kalu Mama. Please, Your Lordship, peruse to page number 44, annexure L. They've stated that they have find bank statement of the Kalu. However, they didn't find anything worth mentioning in the charge sheet that from where he find that he get 3.5 lakh rupees to buy. And in preliminary investigation, the accused stated that they have done this task earlier also. However, if they have done this task earlier, then Kalu Mama must have buy some fake hidden currency note from anyone. However, the prosecution and the police didn't mention any of the evidence from where he buy any of the notes. They didn't also tell about any trail of the fake Indian currency from where they buy, or they have made it, or they have certainly procured from anywhere. They didn't mention any of such thing. They simply stated that they are conspiring on calls to wage war against the India. However, Ismail Council stated that since they have not provided any prerequisite certificate of 65B, the same cannot be admissible. Your Lordship, they further stated that Kalu Mama helped Sohail to cross the border to infiltrate to Bangladesh. However, Your Lordship, they said that Shorak Khan helped him in crossing the border. The statement of Shorak Khan has not been taken, Your Lordship. This creates doubt whether the accused Sohail has really infiltrated to Bangladesh and whether the accused Kalu has really helped Sohail in infiltrating Bangladesh, or whether the accused is present in India only, and whether the police is trying to screen the actual offender. Further, Your Lordship, as I stated, there is no evidence, there is no direct evidence, there is no circumstantial evidence against the Kalu. He is simply charged by the police just to make a good story, which is probably a good story. But since they have no evidence, they cannot prove anything. Further, Your Lordship, police had known about Kalu Mama since they have arrested the accused A1 and A2 on 25th February. However, they arrested the accused Kalu on 23rd June, which is approx to 6 months, which is a 6 month gap between the arrest between the information received. Sorry, 4 month gap between the information received and the arrest of the accused Kalu. And the prosecution stated that the Kalu Mama is the main lead of this conspiracy. Then why didn't they arrest the accused Kalu? If they would have acted promptly, then they might have arrested the accused Kalu, and then they might have arrested accused Sohail also. But they didn't act. Why? Because they simply want to they simply want to charge the accused and did not have any evidence against them. This led to my third argument, Your Lordship, whether the accused are liable under section 16, 17, 18, 20 of UAPA. Your Lordship, my first contention in that kindly peruse to page number 19, Your Lordship, of the written submission of on behalf of the accused, that they do not have any that they do not have any proper sanction against all three accused, that is Samir, Monu, and Kalu. Your Lordship, if we peruse to a sanction letter which is given by district magistrate, and another letter, Exhibit 5, which stated that the investigation shall be transferred from Delhi Police to NIA. One letter is dated 14th May, and the another letter is dated 30th April. Your Lordship, if we see the timeline of the arrest and all the thing, Your Lordship, the police got the information about the accused A1 and A2 on 24th. They arrested the accused on 25th February. Your Lordship, with the letter dated 30 April, government hand over investigation to NIA. This shows that the investigation is in its preliminary stage. Your Lordship, the second point in the charge sheet, that they started the investigation on 11/5, that is 11 May, NIA starts the investigation. And on 14th May, Your Lordship, the sanction has been provided against the accused. How can it be possible? How can it be relevant, Your Lordship, by giving sanction at such a preliminary stage? And for the same, Your Lordship, I would like to quote the statement. Your Lordship, I just need 2 more minutes to wrap up my argument as my time is over.
Okay, continue.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, please peruse citation number 50, State versus Mukesh Kumar Singh, which is a Delhi High Court judgment, and I quote a paragraph from the judgment which says that the validity of the sanction ultimately depends upon the entire material, relevant fact, and evidence placed before the competent authority, so that the competent authority has full knowledge of fact to make a decision either to grant the sanction or to deny the same. Your Lordship, after perusing the relevant material of the present case, it is clear that they do not have any material, they do not have any relevant fact, and they do not have any evidence against in front of the competent authority, so that they can make use of their mind and grant the sanction against the accused. Since the investigation in its preliminary stages, how can they grant sanction against the accused A1, A2, and A3? Your Lordship, with this, with your permission, I would like to move on to the prayer.
Please.
Your Lordship, wherefore, in the light of the facts stated, issue raised, argument advanced, and authority cited, it is most humbly prayed before this honorable court that it may be graciously pleased to acquit the accused Samir Monu Kalu of all the charges under section 120B, 121, 201, 489B, and 489C of the Indian Penal Code 1860 and charges under section 16, 17, 18, 20 of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967, and pass any other order, direction, or relief that it may deem fit in the best interest of justice, equity, and good conscience. For this act of kindness, the accused shall duty bound forever pray. And Your Lordship, it is my honor to present the argument in front of this court. Much obliged, Your Lordship.
Now, what has the prosecution to say on the issues raised by the defense?
Pardon, Your Lordship.
Pardon, Your Lordship.
I'm asking as to what has the prosecution to say on the issues raised by the defense?
Your Lordship, I would like to say that the council has misled this honorable court, trying to mislead this honorable court. Your Lordship, he says that the government has transferred this case in preliminary stage to the NIA. Your Lordship, the section 6 of this the NIA Act says that that on receipt of information and recording of FIR under section 154 of CRPC relating to any scheduled offense, the officer in charge of police station shall forward a report to state government forthwith. On receipt of report under section 6(1), state government forward the report to the central government as expediently as possible and according to their convenience. On receipt of report from state government, the central government determine on the basis of the information made available by state government or received from other sources that whether the offense is scheduled offense or not, and also having regard to gravity of the offense and other relevant factors, it is a fit case to be investigated by NIA. Where central government is of opinion that offense is scheduled offense and it is fit case to be investigated by NIA, it shall direct NIA to investigate said offense. Your Lordship, in this case, the sections, offenses under section 489B and 489C of IPC and the offenses under section 121 and 123 of IPC are scheduled offenses, Your Lordship, under the schedule of the NIA Act. Therefore, this case was after perusing all the relevant records and evidences and statement of witnesses on record, the central government transferred this case to the NIA, and the NIA court has only to try these cases, which is this honorable court, and the Council of Defense moved to wrong jurisdiction, involved wrong jurisdiction. Kindly see their statement of jurisdiction, Your Lordship. They has invoked the jurisdiction of Session Court of Delhi, Your Lordship, which is the wrong jurisdiction because they cannot go under CRPC, the jurisdiction under section 13 of the NIA only to the NIA court, Your Lordship. This is big point, and this their defense is liable to be dismissed with heavy cost, and they are hardcore criminals, Your Lordship. They further try to
Mr. Speaker, tell me one thing. I'm audible?
Your Lordship, yes, Your Lordship.
How you held Samir and Monu accused 1 and 2 under section 16, 17, 18 and 20 of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act? How you bring charges against them under these provisions? because this is a
Yes, Your
charge,
Lordship.
charge of being terrorist. I can understand if your argument is with regard to A5, A3, because A4 has committed suicide, but how the Samir and Monu, accused 1 and 2, can be held liable under this section 16, 17, 18, and 20?
Yeah, your Lordship, definitely. Your Lordship, Section 15 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 says that whoever damage to the monetary stability of India by way of production of smuggling or circulation or of high quality counterfeit Indian currency notes, then he has committed terrorist act. And they were detained on the railway station on the basis of the secret information which was specific, and the counterfeit notes were found in their possession, Your Lordship, in the case of Panne Singh versus State of Rajasthan, decided by Honorable High Court of Rajasthan in 1996, the Honorable High Court observed that one telephonic message was received by an ASI of the police station. On the basis of that information, the police raided on the.
For that you have already added this section 489A, 489B. What the their role is, they had only brought the money from Malda to New Delhi station, as for the allegation is concerned. That they were carrying this fake currency note in a local compartment of Farakka Express, and they were apprehended at New Delhi railway station. Over that, this 489A and 489B is satisfied. How you attack section 16, 17, 18, and 20? Kindly read section 16. Punishment for
Yes,
terrorist
Your
act.
Lordship.
What is
Your Lordship,
what is the terrorist act they have done?
Your Lordship, they specifically they damaged the, which comes under the definition of section 15 of the Unlawful Activities Act. They have damaged the monetary stability. They attempted to damage the monetary stability of India by causing by attempting to cause damage to monetary stability of India by way of production or smuggling or circulation of high quality fake notes. Your Lordship, Section 15 of the Unlawful Activities Act prescribes the punishment for terrorist act. Your Lordship, specified in the Section 15 of the Unlawful Activities Act. And Your Lordship, Section 16 says about the punishment for raising funds for the terrorist act. Your Lordship, they were raising funds by such way, by taking 10% commission for circulating these and smuggling these counterfeit notes from one place to another place to give the financial aid to the terrorist groups, Your Lordship, which were the regional groups of the West Bengal and the Lashkar-e-Taiba, Your Lordship, militant group. And Your Lordship, Section 18 of the Unlawful Activities provide for the punishment for conspiracy. And
Okay, please proceed.
cognizant 120B was invoked in this case by the prosecution, because when the main offences are cognizable offence, then this conspiracy is also treated as cognizable offence. Therefore, they were held liable. They are liable to be punished under Section 120B. Further, Your Lordship, Section 20 of the Unlawful Activities Act provides for punishment for being member of terrorist gang or organizations. Your Lordship, when their telephonic communication and call detail records were obtained by the prosecution and their communication links and locations was identified, then they came to know that on the basis of technical grounds, when they were constantly talking with them during their journey, when they were carrying these fake currency notes, Your Lordship, they are associated with each other, and they were
held like they are uh, uh,
definitely required to be held liable under section 16, 17, 18 and 20 of the Unlawful Activities Act, your lordship. They were the member of the terrorist gangs, your lordship, of Lashkar-e-Taiba and their connected branches which are active in the border areas of Bengal, your lordship. They are very expert and showing that they are innocent, but they are not innocent. They had the knowledge that they are carrying fake currency notes, your lordship. They are just trying to mislead this honorable court, your lordship.
With the permission of the court, the defense would like to proceed for rebuttal.
Just hold on. I have a few questions. Now, for the prosecution, the defense has raised two issues. One is regarding the non-availability of 65B. And the second is a statement made to a police officer which is inadmissible in evidence as per section 25 of the Evidence Act. What do you have to say on that?
Yeah, your lordship, in this regard, I would like to say that they are just trying to mislead this honorable court, your lordship. All the evidences and the statement of all the accused were recorded with their free will, your lordship. They were not compelled, and the investigation was carried out according to the provisions of the Unlawful Activities Act, section 15. And your lordship, one more rule was also invoked by the prosecution in this case, which is the investigation of high quality counterfeit Indian currency offences rules 2013, whose rules sub rule 3 of rule 6 says that on the receipt of positive preliminary forensic report, the investigating officer shall transmit the same along with the report of fact of the seizure to the concerned superintendent of police or equivalent or officer of equivalent rank, and if such officer is satisfied that the act amounts to an attempt to damage the monetary stability of India, he may order applying of provisions of section 15 and other provisions of the Unlawful Activities Act. Therefore, your lordship, they are just trying to mislead this honorable court, your lordship.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Now,
you
what
much,
the defense?
your lordship.
May it please the court, this is the counsel number 1 appearing on side of the defense for the rebuttal. With the permission of the court, I would like to proceed.
Yes, please.
Your Honor, firstly, I would preliminary.
Before that, I have a question with defense.
Indeed, Your
That
Honor.
recovery was made from you. It is admitted fact that fake currency note was recovered from accused 1 and 2, and that was sent by accused number 3. And see the telephonic call records. Location shows that even accused 1 Samir and accused 2 Monu, they were in constant touch with Peter and Kalumam.
Indeed.
So what is your answer to that? You have a link.
Your Honor.
You have a link with that terrorist group members. You have a
Your Honor,
conversation, and there was recovery from you.
Your Honor, indeed, the accused had a link between them because they were working for a program which used to sensitize people against the malpractices of the government, and they also used to raise funds for their rallies. But the defense is not at all agreeing to the fact that the possession was the notes were found in the possession of the accused, your lordship. Your Honor, indeed, notes were found, but the defense is contending that the accused had no knowledge of the fact that the notes were in the secret cavity of the bag. The notes were maybe planted by some other individual, but the accused are innocent here, and they were only working for their program, their incentives, their program which used to sensitize people.
Accused have stated that it was safe to travel in a local compartment. Why they say so? Give the version that it is safe to travel in a local compartment, general compartment. It means they had knowledge that they are carrying money and it will be safe. They will not be caught if they travel in a general compartment.
Your Honor, the accused are very poor and common people. They only prefer general compartment because it was suitable given their economic conditions and the travel technicalities and modalities of the same. The accused are not at all intended to say anything against their the possession of the notes.
Your Lordship, I would like to further elucidate on points. If we peruse to section 17, paragraph number 17.8 of charge sheet, they said that after the seizure and return to police station, they filed FIR. However, in the seizure memo, they stated that the FIR number is 15/2015. So during the seizure, how come the police know about the FIR number when they have not registered the FIR number?
Additionally, Your Honor, there are many irregularities in the case which seriously raise doubts against the liability of the accused. Like the affair was delayed and it was recorded after 12 hours of the apprehension. Moreover, the affair was later amended, and there is no provision that the affair should be amended by adding new names of the accused number 3, accused number 4, and accused number 5, or Kalu, Peter, and Sohail respectively. Moreover, Your Honor, there is no statement by the independent witness when the possession was made. How can we rely on the statements of the police when they were the only who are making the possession? The signature has been there, but there is no knowledge. There's no fact that the statement of the independent witness was recorded. Also, any statement made by the accused under 161 of CRPC is not admissible in front of this court. The prosecution is wholly relying on those statements, and they are contending the jurisdiction at the time of the final argumentation. How it could be entertainable before this court? Your Honor, furthermore, there is also one point I would like to raise. The prosecution has not come up with required sanctions under 196 for the offences of waging war against the state, under 121 and 123 of IPC, which comes under Chapter 6 of IPC. The required sanctions are necessary for the court to entertain those cases, but the prosecution has come up without the sanctions here and are contending that the accused have waged war against the state. Moreover, I have addressed the irregularity in the investigation, but the prosecution is relying on the conspiracy on the basis of the call detail records, but that is not at all admissible in front of this court without the requisite certificate under 60/B subsection 4 of the Indian Evidence Act, which has been an established law by the President of Supreme Court under the case of Arjun Panditrao Khotkar versus Kailash Krishnarao Gorantyal, which is the latest case passed the last year. The mandatory certificate is not provided in front of the court. Hence, the conspiracy cannot be proved just on the basis of call detail records, which has also been mentioned in the case of Kirti Pal versus State of West Bengal.
Objection, Your Lord.
Your Honor, I believe.
Raise objection.
Your Honor, there is no provision to raise objection, I believe.
Yes,
It cannot be done. It is not part of the rules.
that is not permissible.
Yes.
Much obliged, Your Lordship.
Your Honor, the council welcomes any question from Your Honors.
Now, are you disputing the recovery of those notes from your possession?
Indeed, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, as my co-counsel and I have stated in our argument that the police may have planted the fake Indian currency note in the possession of the accused, which we have provided certain irregularity in the investigation of the police. And for the same reason, we believe that the accused do not have possession and did not have any knowledge whether they're in possession of fake Indian currency note. And for the same, Your Lordship, we pray that they should be held free.
What is the reason? What is the reason? Police will plant you. Does police have any enmity with you?
Your Honor, the reason of the same is that the prosecution is and has a duty here to prove all the doubts beyond any irregularity.
My question is different.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
What is the occasion for the police to plant you?
Your Honor, the possession has not been proved by the court, by the prosecution beyond all reasonable doubt. And I believe the speaker number 2 would be the right person to address this question.
Your Lordship, as has been stated by my co-counsel, that they are working for a youth conference which works against the policies of the government, which works on the policy to bring awareness among the youth to know the double standards of the government. which we can say that it's a voice of which is a voice of minority, which works against the government, works in favor of the minorities, and for the same reason they trying to frame the accused so that they should be rotten in the jail for and they should not work for minorities or any other work, which shows that which clearly shows the intention of the police as to why the police are trying to implant the fake hidden currency note in the favor of the in the favor of the
Additionally,
prosecution.
Additionally,
And
Your Honor, it is an alleged fact. It is not wholly proved because defense is not here to prove the fact that the government has planted the money. Moreover, Your Honor, the government has been successful to keep my client, the accused, for 6 years in jail, which is a huge time. And the accused are basically poor youth who are trying to work for the minorities. And if they are kept in jail for 6 years, they are successful in their attempt of accusing them for the conspiracy, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the investigation of the police and the investigation of NIA has a chilling effect on the voice of the minorities, which and it clearly stated that if you work against the government, your condition will be same as in this case, Your Lordship. It may be an exaggeration, but it may be a reality, Your Lordship.
Thank you. I think that the time is actually over for both the parties. The court master may kindly assist us.
Yes, Honorable Judges, the time is over. The team 1 has completed its 30 minutes allocated time plus 7 minutes out of the discretionary quota of the Honorable Judges. And team 2 has taken 30 minutes as well as entire 10 minutes of the quota of Honorable Judges. So they are within the permitted time limits. They have not exceeded. So both are well within the time limits allocated to them. And now I request honorable judges to share their experience of the day. May I request Sir Anurag Pandey first to say a few words about the experience of the day?
Yes, it was a nice experience. All the participants did well. All the speakers were very courteous to the court and they were knowledgeable. So, and they were very thorough on the facts. So it was a nice experience. Now, my learned brother.
Sir, Chinmay sir, please.
Yes, yes, please. First of all the very best to all the participants. You were all very, very passionate about your case, and that was the most important part of it. That is how it has to be. You have to actually fight it out from your heart. All the very best for the future. We actually had a very, very good experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Lordship.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's a pleasure, Your Lordship.
Fantastic. And I request honorable judges to send this score either on the email or on my WhatsApp, the group, separately.
Yes, yes, please.
Even when it is ready.
Right. We'll do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have a very nice day and thank you very much. I'm disconnecting.
Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, when can we expect the result of both the
I will let you know. I think by evening, I will let you know.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
It would be posted in the group.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
तुम काटना क्यों चाहती हो यार?
Hello. Is there anyone? Well done, Mr. Anurag.